Welcome to Tuesday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. So glad you could join us once again on a beautiful day in the New York City area. It's actually in the mid-40s, Matt. I cannot get over it. Just, a day and a half ago, we had about an inch of snow in the North Jersey area. I actually did get the shovel out. It wasn't heavy. It was very easy to get rid of, but I had to shovel it out. You know, you don't want to pull out on the driveway with the snow there. Once you compress it, now it turns to ice and it's harder to get up. Okay, so I did shovel it a day and a half ago. And now today, last 2 days, the sun has been as bright as could be, and the weather just has definitely improved over the last couple of days. Anyway, 201-939-4513 is our phone number. Paul Dottino and Matt Citak. We're going to be here to talk football for the next hour with you. Giants, even NFL, if you prefer. Coming up as a reminder, on Thursday, it's the NFL Honors Program. Begins at 9 p.m., I believe. Is that right, Eastern Time?
I believe so, yeah.
9 p.m. Eastern Time. During that program, the Pro Football Hall of Fame announcement will come out for the folks who are going to be part of the newest class. That would be of 2025. And yes, we do know that Eli Manning was one of the 15 finalists that made it to the final 2 rounds of voting. And it's going to be a very, very pins and needles kind of night for everybody involved with the Giants as we find out if Eli Manning has, in fact, made it on the first ballot, or, unfortunately, if they will make him wait. And I would be a very, very angry camper if they make him wait.
Yeah, me too. I think he deserves to, go in this year. The only, I guess, very small, silver lining I'll say is that if Eli does not get it this year, it will likely come in the next, few years. And it would, be somewhat fitting if Eli and Coach Coughlin could go in together. Coach Coughlin obviously was one of the, for his category, I forgot what.
Yeah, the coaches category.
The coaches category.
Mike Holmgren was the guy this year.
Yeah, he was one of the finalists, but then did not end up being, the guy or I think it's only one or two. One guy.
One coach.
Yeah, the one coach to make it, to that very final Hall of Fame round. So the only silver lining I would say is, if Eli has to wait a year, maybe him and Coach Coughlin get to go in together, which that would be quite fitting.
Both of them deserve to be here.
They both deserve it, and I think they both deserved it this year, honestly. But obviously, we already know that Coach Coughlin will not be getting it this year. We'll see about Eli.
Well, for what it's worth, by the way, Mason Crosby, a former Packers kicker, longtime kicker, just announced his retirement, according to NFL Network.
As did Bills safety Micah Hyde today.
Did he?
Yeah, all within the last.
Did not see that one on the crawl.
Within the last hour, both of them.
Oh wow! Okay.
Their retirements.
Of course, Mason Crosby had a quick stopover here with the Giants as well.
Yep.
But in any event, just as a matter of conversation about the Hall of Fame, and talking to a bunch of committee members. And I do not agree with this. I do believe Tom Coughlin should be in as soon as possible. It does appear like the groundswell, it has a pecking order. Holmgren this year, Mike Shanahan next year, Tom Coughlin the year after. That's kind of the momentum that I've heard about the coaches' selection. It appears as though they're going to go Holmgren, Shanahan, Coughlin. So if Shanahan is 26, that means Tom may have to wait until 27. Again, this is according to the feel and the vibe that a number of people on the committee have given me. I hope that's not true. I'd like to see Tom get in sooner. I mean, he is in his 70s, okay, and he's doing great, as healthy as a horse. And I'm always of the opinion that you don't wait too long with people. You want them to enjoy it as much as they possibly can while they have that opportunity. I just... This whole thing about, guy can't be a first ballot. Why delay? You never know what could happen to him or his family or his friends in the next year. How do you know? So if you can get him in there and he belongs in, get him in. But that's how I feel. But that's what I've heard, is that Tom is probably going to be on tap in 27. Now, I mean, does Eli get in this year? Hope so. Does he get in next year? Certainly hope so. I would hate to have to wait till 27 for both of them. However, there would be a very sweet side to having them going together. I do understand that point of view. I just think it stinks to have to make those guys wait.
Yeah, no, I agree. And especially when it comes to Eli, one of the reasons why I think so many of us thought he had a very good chance, and still do think he has a good chance of making it this year, is that he doesn't have any, real competition at the quarterback
Correct.
position. However, next year and, the following few seasons after, some of the guys that were playing around the same time as Eli but retired a year, 2 years after him, they all start to become eligible as well. And then he's going to have a lot of more competition at that quarterback position. I'm talking about guys like, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees. So we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully Eli just gets in on Thursday, and then we don't have to worry about future years. But I guess it remains to be seen. And just real quick, as we're on the topic of Hall of Famers, happy birthday shout out to Lawrence Taylor. It is his birthday today. The all-time great Giant, all-time great defensive player, period.
The greatest.
The greatest.
Greatest defensive player.
On a similar note, for the Citak family Hall of Fame, it is my dad's birthday.
Yeah,
Turned
nice.
65 today, so...
Wait a minute. 65 and 56.
There you go.
Just transposing the numbers there.
Yeah.
That's a good deal.
I don't know if my dad is listening live, but he tends to tune into all the episodes I'm on at some point, so he might be listening on his drive home from work later. So, Dad, happy birthday.
I love it. Same to you. And I don't want to wreck the surprise, but is he getting some type of Lawrence Taylor-themed present? No?
Not quite. No.
Okay. It is what it is. By the way, just to your point, next year's Hall of Fame class, the first-time eligibles will include, in fact, Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers at the quarterback position, as well as Matt Schaub. Don't have to worry about him. Or Alex Smith. Don't have to worry about him either.
No, don't think so.
But those are the four quarterbacks who would be first-time eligible players coming up next year. Obviously, Drew Brees is going to go, and I don't think anybody would give you any flack about him going in first ballot or otherwise.
Nope.
Phillip Rivers, I think he belongs, but you can't. I mean, Eli Manning, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, right? Phillip Rivers, not even sniffing a Super Bowl. Did he even buy a ticket one year? Come on. I mean, really?
Yeah. Drew
Although
Brees.
I think Rivers at some point deserves to go.
I agree. Drew Brees, I agree. He, I think, deserves to be first ballot. And I don't think many people are going to argue against that, although with how voting goes today, in today's age, who knows?
Oh, man.
I would be surprised that Phillip Rivers gets in before Eli. As you mentioned, the 2 Super Bowl MVPs, that holds a lot of weight. And, when you look at their career statistics, they're very similar in the regular season between Rivers and Eli. Rivers slightly better, granted. But again, those 2 Super Bowl MVPs hold a lot more weight than, a couple thousand more passing yards over a 15, 16-year career.
And both of them have longevity, by the way, which is another reason why I think Rivers does belong in at some point.
Yep.
Because not only does he have all the numbers, but he also has the durability factor, too.
Yeah.
So, in any event, 201-939-4513 is our phone number. Now, let's get quickly, before we go to our phone calls, Matt Miller, I believe, came up with a new mock draft earlier today, and I know you've already posted that on Giants.com.
Yep.
Matt is the reason that I want to mention his. You guys know I'm not big on mock drafts, right? Mock drafts are mock drafts. They call them mocks for a reason, because they're to be mocked, as in laughed at. But in this particular case, Matt Miller is a guy who I find doesn't buy into hype. He is a guy who says, I believe what I see. The tape doesn't lie. He does not get carried away by a lot of pop and circumstance and by the wave of the fans and the wave of other media. Matt Miller's a real serious guy. Takes his business, with a very sharp eye and has a very keen understanding of the business. So what does Matt Miller say about the Giants at number 3, and does he go as far as the second round?
Yes, this is the first 2 full rounds of the draft, so the first 64 picks.
All right, so what are his first 3 picks?
The first 3 picks, first he has the Titans selecting Abdul Carter. Then he has
edge rusher.
The Cleveland Browns at number 2 selecting Travis Hunter, which
Heisman Trophy winner.
Would then put the Giants at number 3 with both of the top quarterbacks as options. And he has the Giants selecting Cam Ward out of Miami, which I feel like
a lot of people believe that. if that were to happen. I don't
Yeah.
know that it will, but a lot of people would believe that Ward would go 3 if those other guys went 2.
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty confident in saying if Carter and Travis Hunter go 1 and 2 in whatever order you want to put it, and the Giants are sitting there at 3 with both of the top quarterbacks available, I think there is a pretty good chance that the Giants are going to select one of those 2 quarterbacks. Now, if one of the quarterbacks is gone and one of those other players in the top 2 that we just mentioned are still available, that changes the conversation.
Everything.
Because I think most people would agree Carter and Hunter, again, in whatever order you want to put them, but those 2 are the 2 most talented players in this draft.
Yes.
And the only reason why Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders would get selected before them is because obviously quarterbacks always rise in the draft. It is the most important position. No one will knock a team for selecting a quarterback before one of those 2
I don't think
players.
anybody that I've heard, and tell me if you've heard otherwise, because we can't always see everything. I don't think anybody has said of the draft gurus that either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders are, quote, the best player available in this draft.
No.
Right? Nobody has said that.
No. Everyone seems to agree it's, Carter, Hunter, maybe Mason Graham, but those 3, again, quarterback position, you always rise. So.
I know. I do prefer, for the record, I've said it before, I prefer Ward over Sanders.
Me too, for sure. I think Ward has that playmaking ability and that sort of improv at the quarterback position that we see some of the top quarterbacks in the NFL right now. I'm not comparing him to Patrick Mahomes, but the way that Patrick Mahomes is able to just scramble and sort of make a play out of nothing, Cam Ward showed that a lot this past season at Miami. Not that Shedeur Sanders can't do the same, but Cam Ward just seems to have sort of that more of a playmaking ability than Shedeur. Shedeur, I would say, is a more accurate passer and more of just like that sort of point guard, like just distribute the ball, get the ball out into the playmaker's hands. But just with how the NFL goes in today's age, I also prefer Cam Ward because I think he just has that kind of special playmaking ability a little more so than Shedeur does.
You know what's funny? Most people, when they think about arm strength, the first thing they think about is how long you can throw the ball, right? How far you can get the ball. And I don't think there's any doubt that Ward can get the ball further or farther than Sanders. That's not a question. There's no doubt he can do that. But arm strength is also about zip. It's about how much mustard can you put on that short throw that's to the sideline or that's over the middle. You don't want the slower ball or the one that doesn't have the zip to get knocked down by a defender or even potentially intercepted. Arm strength is not just about distance. It's also about the ability to throw that laser beam, to fire that frozen rope to any portion of the field that you need to. And to me, so when I say arm strength with Ward, why that to me is hands down over Sanders, is because of the ability to make all of those kinds of throws in a much more efficient fashion, because he'll get that ball there on a frozen rope, in addition to getting the bomb far enough down the field. I'm not convinced that Sanders has the ability to make all of those throws like Ward can.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's pretty safe to say that Ward is also he's a better athlete than Shedeur Sanders. Not that, Ward is going to be Lamar Jackson in the NFL, but he had 17 rushing touchdowns over the last 3 seasons, 2 at Washington State and 1 at Miami. Again, no one's going to, mistake him for Jaden Daniels back there, but he is more than capable of running the football when needed. Sort of, I kind of picture, when the Bills get close to the goal line, Josh Allen sometimes is the leading rusher when it gets close to the goal line.
He can be.
Cam Ward, not quite as big as Josh Allen, of course, but just somewhat similar in that regard, where I could see whatever team ends up drafting Cam Ward, when they get close to the goal line, their version of, the tush push to get into the end zone.
Unless they Cam Ward outlaw that thing, which how I feel.
Yeah,
let's get that out of the game, okay, please?
But I could just see Cam Ward being that sort of slight rushing threat a lot more than Shedeur Sanders.
Okay, so what does Matt have for the Giants at the top of the second round?
Now, so the Giants have the second pick in the second round because, as we've discussed, when it comes to teams with the same records in the draft, the Giants had the toughest strength of schedule, so they have the third pick in the first round, but then the second pick in the second round, the first pick in the third round, and then it resets in the fourth. So with the second pick in the second round, he has the Giants selecting Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia. Malachi Starks is one of, if not the best safety in this draft, a very talented defensive back, could be sort of like the quarterback of the defense. All-American the last 2 seasons. He's a great player. I just found this a little interesting because that would have the Giants selecting a safety in the second round in 2 straight drafts, which safety is not, always considered the most, valued position, and that's just putting a lot of draft capital towards that safety position in consecutive drafts.
Does he reason that he's the best player available at the position, or that he fits Shane Bowen's scheme? What is his backing for the pick?
All he says is, after finding a quarterback in round 1, the Giants could grab a defensive signal caller in the second round with Starks. The 6'1", 205-pound free safety is versatile enough to see reps at slot cornerback, but he fits best working over the top of the defense. So it doesn't really go into much of Starks.
So he just has him playing free safety. That's it. And thinks that he's the guy. Now,
which I will say, if a defensive backfield with Tyler Nubin and Malachi Starks at safety, Drew Phillips in the slot, and then Deontay Banks and perhaps a veteran free agent signing at the other opposite corner, that all of a sudden has the potential to change the secondary, which was somewhat of a weakness last year, into a potential strength. I will say that.
The interesting part is, and again, we talk best player available as being the Giants' overwhelming philosophy for many, many years. I wonder if he does think that that's the reason to pick him. Does he have him as the best player available at that pick? Because it does seem as though that you could probably pick one heck of a defensive tackle in that spot if you wanted to, right? Where is his closest defensive tackle?
The closest defensive tackle after would be Tyleik Williams from Ohio State, going 41 to the Bears. So
that's a bit of a drop.
Yeah. I mean, that he would be there for the taking if the Giants wanted.
And who's the closest defensive tackle before the Giants pick on his mock?
Before at the end of the first round. Last pick of the first round, the Chiefs selecting Kenneth Grant out of Michigan.
Oh, love Kenneth Grant.
Yeah, he would be great. He also has Derek Harmon of Oregon going 28.
I'm telling you now, if
Walter Nolan of Ole Miss 24.
Walter, another terrific player. He's not getting down there. He's not getting down there. Now, if all I need to do is get Grant to fall a couple of spots, I'm sorry. I'm taking him over the safety.
No, I'd sign up for that in a heartbeat as well.
I mean, Kenneth Grant is a stud. I mean, the 2 Michigan defensive tackles are just off the charts great. Yeah. They're terrific.
And I've said it on the show before, and I'll continue saying it up until the draft. Finding the perfect fit, or just a great fit to play next to Dexter Lawrence, has to be one of the top priorities for the Giants this offseason. Everyone talks about the quarterback position.
I think so too.
And of course, quarterback position is the number 1 priority. Do not get me wrong.
Right.
But stopping the run has been the biggest weakness for the Giants for years now. And getting a big body, talented player to line up next to Dexter, in between Burns and Kayvon on the edge, that will go a long way in helping improve the run defense.
All right, 201-939-4513 is our phone number. We go to Big Ed in Maryland. You are first on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
What's up, Big Paulie?
Hey, how are you?
What's up there, buddy-o? How you doing?
I tell you what, my friend, I can't wait for the offseason to end already. How does that tell you how I'm doing? I just want to get to training camp right now. Seriously, let's have free agency tomorrow, the draft at the end of the weekend, and then just let's open up training camp. Let's just go.
Yikes.
I'm just telling you, brother. That's how I feel. I love the season. I live for the season. That's why I don't sleep during the season, because I love it so much. The off season, it's like eating cold peas off of the dinner plate.
Hey, Paulie. you a winner. How does your season go? What's your itinerary like during the season?
During the
From
season?
morning to evening.
Oh,
Yeah,
my God. During the season? Well, game day's a long day. You guys already know that from all the stuff that we do here. And then on Monday, it's usually either the show, it's Zooms with the coach and the players,
Paulie,
it's
you are
reviewing the game.
You are skipping. I said, what's your itinerary for that day, not the week?
Oh, for game day?
If you start like what, 3, 4, 5 in the morning?
Oh, I'm on game day in season. I am awake before 5 o'clock.
Do you even sleep the night before a game?
I usually get to sleep around 1 or 2, and I'm up by 5. Game. The night before a game, I'm Big Ed.
Paulie.
The night before a game is a very restless night for me.
4 and 5:30 every morning.
Okay.
World champions do that.
There you go.
Mm.
No, so yeah, the game day, I'm up very early,
about,
and
right?
usually
Before you got me on, right? And I'm sitting here like, okay, Paulie, quickly, what's the top 5 defensive tackles that's up to the draft?
Oh, I could give you 3 names right off the bat, but to tell you I rank my top 5, I haven't done all the tape yet. I got a lot more to go. But I absolutely,
right.
you know what I think about Mason Graham.
You know you got a few.
Mason Graham, I could give that man a huge hug right now.
Here's where I'm at.
He's awesome.
Look, here's where I'm at now. From what I'm understanding, from what everybody keep talking about or not talking about, saying but not saying. Okay, say Travis and Shakur go first and second. That's fine. We can take Cam Ward. If we don't take Cam Ward, that would be like devastation. Because what I've realized too, Brian needs his Tom Brady. And if Cam Ward can be his Tom Brady, Brian can be successful. He won't be successful without his Tom Brady. He has to have that. That's one. Second, you exactly right. If we really pick the second pick in the second round, that's a defensive tackle or a safety. I like the kid in Georgia since y'all mentioned him. Yeah, okay, fine. So find the top 2 in the safety position. That can cover over the top because we need somebody to cover the defense like we had with Kenny Phillips and a couple of other ones. But, yeah, that's it right there.
Don't mention Kenny Phillips. It makes me cry. He was going to the Pro Bowl if he didn't get hurt.
I didn't want him to get hurt in that
He was going to be dynamite.
Do you know how great that was?
Oh.
That was one of the best plays of a center. He almost looked like daggone Sean Taylor for us, man.
I love Kenny Phillips.
Paulie, I be wearing the Super Bowl jacket right now, man. That's what it is right now.
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
I saw highlights of when we beat San Francisco. Oh, man, that was so good. When Victor Cruz was playing.
Oh, see, I thought you were going back to 1990 when the Giants ruined their three-peat. That was even better. That was even better.
Yeah, that was great because nobody expected us to win except us. We need that again. We need that fight again.
Oh, nobody expects the Giants to win this year either. Right, Matt? No, nobody. Look, that's what made 16 so much fun, Big Ed. Right? Didn't you have fun in 16? Nobody expected the Giants to do what they did.
Here's the problem with getting Myles Garrett since he want to be traded. It's like this. All due respect, Myles Garrett reminds me of Richard Dent. And that only means one thing. He's a defensive end. He's not a tackle. We need a defensive tackle to match Dexter Lawrence.
Myles Garrett's a defensive end. I totally agree.
I told Dex, man, Paulie, we really need to get Leonard Williams to match with Dex. Because then we have.
Well, we had Leonard Williams. And he agreed to get traded to a playoff team. And we also couldn't afford to bring him back. So I get it. Look, I'm the president of the Leonard Williams fan club here in New York. From the moment the Giants made that trade, I was jumping up and down like you can't believe. I was so happy. I'm a huge Leonard Williams fan.
To trade him because we just couldn't pay him. He wanted a lot, but he deserved.
He got a lot too.
He played his butt off, man. He did. He really did.
What else you got for us, Big Ed? I want to try to get more calls in.
Yeah, I'm going to keep working on it, man, because we're not done. This is going to be great.
Okay.
All right, man. You guys take care.
Be good.
Thanks, Big Ed.
He's a fun dude.
He is.
I'm not I'm not always sure what his impetus is to making the call, though, because a lot of times he just gets on and he's just a bowl full of energy.
I think he just wants to chat Giants.
That's it. He just wants to.
In particular, to really.
I feel like he can't hear you sometimes, but he also is just moving on to his next point.
Well, Big Ed and Paul, at least on that call, you guys were just talking at the same time, talking over each other. Yeah. I couldn't hear either one of you.
Well, he tried to ask me a question or two. I tried to give him the answer, and then he wouldn't let me do the answer. And he's just a happy dude. I love the energy. Look, because
amazing energy.
Everybody, always talks about me like the human fireworks. So I get it. I love the energy. Big Ed's a great dude.
Just about, Leonard Williams and his departure from here. Everybody loved Leonard. That trade was nothing to do with him as a football player at all. It's just, as we saw, the Seahawks last offseason gave him a rather large contract extension, and one that was well-deserved. The Giants had already given Dexter Lawrence his big contract extension, and when you're building your defense, it's not exactly the best strategy to have your two highest-paid players be on the interior defensive line. The Giants did that. They had Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams were probably the two best players on the defense for a couple of years.
A great pairing between those two. They knew exactly how to play.
A great, amazing pairing. But
outstanding.
They didn't have enough on the edge then. And they needed an edge rusher, which is why, they went and traded for Brian Burns and gave him a big contract extension, which also, the fact that the Giants just did that last year for Brian Burns, the chances of the Giants swinging a trade for Myles Garrett this offseason.
That's not happening.
As close to zero as you're going to get.
Yeah. I'm going to go back just a tad, maybe a little before you. The 2000 NFC champs that lost to Baltimore in the Super Bowl, Keith Hamilton and Cornelius Griffin were the two defensive tackles in that four-man front. And I would say that Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence were the best pairing the Giants had inside since Hamilton and Cornelius Griffin.
Oh, yeah. I don't think
those two guys were
it's even close.
Studs. And Keith Hamilton should have gone to at least 2 or 3 Pro Bowls. He got ripped off because it was a stupid popularity contest. And, there was a year where Hammer had double-digit sacks as a defensive tackle. Okay? The dude was a stud. 201-939-4513. James in Georgia is next on the program. Hello.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How you doing?
Hey, James.
I don't know much. What's going on, Paul? What's going on, that? I just wanted to talk a little bit about the draft, and I know free agency comes up first, and you kind of want to fill in your holes where they go. But I also think about a good exercise is to where sweet spots are going to be for certain positions. And then I wanted to get on quarterback again, because last time I think I called, I asked about the quarterback, but I didn't exactly say who I wanted, I don't think. But I would definitely take Sanders with his traits because of being more accurate. I think another caller was kind of saying the same thing the other day. I would rather have the accuracy and be able to throw the ball with anticipation and, throwing guys open rather than have a huge cannon for the arm and, you having more 50-50 balls. I don't know. Maybe Cam. I like Cam more, but I'd rather have the pedigree in Sanders and, like I said, the accuracy, the presence in the pocket, things like that. And I called last time about a Brandon Jacobs comp. Who do you think would be like our next Ron Dane? Who would be a comp to him? And the exercise, like I said, the sweet spots for certain positions. Say you go quarterback first round. Would you rather take? Is it better to take a D tackle or a corner or a secondary player or a running back? And in which subsequent round would be the best landing spot for those positions?
Yeah, what do you want to take first?
Well, so I brought this up on the show last week. Not breaking any news here by saying you never want to pigeonhole yourself to like a certain specific position at a specific draft slot. However, with the Giants' second round pick in particular at 34, I do think that will be a sweet spot where you can marry best player available and a team need, and that is the defensive tackle position. We were just discussing it a little earlier with a couple of guys that right now are projected to go, late first, early second round. So obviously we don't know where exactly they'll end up, where it'll shake out, but those are guys that are definitely, in the conversation, I would say. In terms of the running back position, well, the defensive tackle position and the running back position, those are your two probably deepest positions in this year's draft. There is just so much talent at both of those positions, and this is like top of the draft talent going all the way down. There are guys that are going to go on day 3 at the running back position that are going to end up being starters in the NFL. I will tell you now. There could be, 30 running backs taken this year, maybe even more. Like, there are just so many players at that position that are going to go in this year's draft. Some are going to go undrafted as well. And these are guys that are going to end up being very solid contributors in the NFL. So in terms of a running back, I would say personally, I might be targeting that position somewhere on day 3, just because I think, the Giants got Tyrone Tracy in the 5th round last year. Granted, that was slightly different circumstances because he was a receiver turned running back, only had 1 year of experience. But there are some very talented running backs that are going to go on day 3 of this year's draft that are, I'm telling you, will be starters in the NFL potentially as soon as next year.
Or at least part of a 2-man backfield, if not starters as the lead guy. I agree.
Bucky Irving, wasn't he also a 5th round pick?
Bucky Irving out of Oregon, yeah.
Him and Tracy were the 2 best running backs this year of rookies. They were both 5th round picks.
I'm a big Ollie Gordon guy out of Oklahoma State.
I like him a lot.
That's my guy. If you said to me, if the Giants got one running back in this draft, who would you want that guy to be? And that shouldn't surprise anybody when I say Ollie Gordon, because he's about 6'2", 230 pounds.
He's a big guy.
He is a horse. And as you know, I'm very big for having certain boxes being filled in each of the position rooms. I always want to have a skyscraper in the wide receiver room, and I always want to have a horse in the running backs room. It bothers me when the room doesn't have one of those guys. Well,
a horse or a truck,
a truck will be fine. You want to call it a truck? A truck is fine. Ollie Gordon is a truck. He's a horse. Call him what you will. He's big. He's strong. He's a moose. I would love to get my hands on Ollie Gordon. Can they get him in the 4th? Possibly.
Honestly, with how many running backs that are going to get drafted this year, there are going to be some very talented ones that just drop. And it's nothing to do with them as a football player, their skill set. It's just because of the nature of the running back position and how many of them are going to get selected this year. You're going to get some really good players dropping to day 3.
He'll go later, too, because you have to be of a certain mindset to want a horse in your backfield. A lot of offensive coordinators want the guys who are going to catch the ball, scat backs, smaller, quicker, guys who have juke ability, the versatility and all that stuff. I don't need
you need
that.
One of them too.
But my point is with the Giants' room, okay, whether it's Tracy, whether it's Singletary, whether it's Gray, whether it's Dante Miller, who I'm not giving up on, by the way. I'm not giving up on Turbo.
Have one of those guys.
I'm not giving up on Turbo. What's not in this room? A truck. Okay? Yeah. That's not in the room. Not every team wants to have a Leonard Fournette type in their room. They don't feel a need to have one. I do. That's why I tell you all the time, folks. I tell you what I would do if I was in charge of the roster, not what the Giants will do. I don't predict what they're going to do. I don't tell you what they should do. This is a very personal thing. What would I do based on my philosophies? I want a truck.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Also, by the way, Bucky Irving was a late 4th round pick, not quite 5th round. But
okay, almost.
I'm just looking back at last year's draft. In the last 10 picks of around the last 10 picks of the 4th round, 6 different running backs were taken. Bucky Irving obviously had the most success. There was a huge run, and I honestly wouldn't be shocked at all to see a similar sort of run in this year's draft.
I agree.
Potentially even late day 2 instead of, early day 3. RJ Harvey of UCF is another guy who flashed a little bit at the Senior Bowl this past week. The opposite end of the spectrum in terms of size is Ollie Gordon, because he's
totally different.
I think he's 5'7", but 200
totally
something pounds. He's like a little bowling ball. That again, it depends on choose your flavor that you want at the running back position. But I feel like given Tyrone Tracy and his sort of size and skill set, you can kind of go in a variety of different directions in terms of if you want to pair him with a rookie, someone else, to join him in the backfield.
See, for me, if you got Tracy as your lead back and he's your everything back, and you got Singletary, who's really a good blitz picker-upper, by the way.
Yes.
Okay? And whether or not you keep Gray or you keep Dante Miller, it doesn't matter who you're going to pick out of those guys. You don't have the bulldozer. You don't have the truck. That's why I'm taking Gordon, because I want to fill up the room so that I know I've got the truck in there. That's all. It's a philosophical thing more than it is anything else. And quite frankly, too, John was trying to debate me on this yesterday, and it's really foolish, because when it comes to the quarterback thing, I've said this a billion times, and I know the people who don't agree with my philosophies automatically shut this out and don't listen. So please turn up the volume, please, on your computer, so you can listen to this. If a general manager and his personnel department is all in on a player when it's time for them to pick, it doesn't matter what position it is. They've got a responsibility to take him. If you're picking number 3 in the draft and everybody in the room is pounding their fist on the table and saying we are all in, we have to take Sanders, then you damn well better take Sanders. If they're all in on Ward, you better take Ward. The personnel department and the general manager of every single franchise has a responsibility to the ownership, to the coaching staff, to the players in that locker room, and to everyone who's involved with the organization to take the guy who they believe is the best player at that pick. It doesn't matter if I like or don't like, philosophically speaking, a quarterback. I agree with them taking one if they believe that that guy in that spot is the best guy. So please, now you can turn your volume down if you like. But for those people who want to have at me when I philosophically say I'm not necessarily thrilled or totally on board with taking a QB at number 3, well, that's simply a philosophy and an opinion. I believe they should take a quarterback at number 3 if they believe it's the right guy. You understand the difference in the statement?
Of course.
Okay, a lot of people out there don't. John apparently has a little trouble figuring that out too, because he likes to get on me all the time about this. If they believe the quarterback is the best guy to take, they damn well better take him. That's it. Case closed.
Yeah, no, look, I agree. I have said on the show that if it were up to me right now, months before the draft, I would probably lean slightly more towards the Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, rather than one of the quarterbacks, except, again, for Cam Ward, because I do think he will be a good NFL quarterback. I just don't think as of now that he's going to last to number 3. If he is, that would be my pick, but I would be perfectly okay for the Giants to take Shedeur Sanders at 3. Again, if the front office and the coaching staff feels confident that he can grow and develop into the franchise quarterback, without any hesitation, you run up and hand in that card of Shedeur Sanders if that's how you feel.
Look, they're getting paid to make that decision. So if they believe it, they better take him.
For sure. And
that's it.
Again, everyone knows the quarterback position is the most important position, period. In all of sports, it is the most important position. To hit a home run at that pick, you got to take some swings. All right? You're not going to land, your future franchise quarterback by never taking a chance on a quarterback in the draft. So I'm perfectly fine and happy to take a quarterback at 3 if I'm the Giants. Shedeur Sanders at 3 if they feel like he could be that home run pick. Because it doesn't matter how many swings you have to take. If you eventually land that home run franchise quarterback, no one's going to care, or it's not going to matter what quarterbacks you missed on in the past. No one cares. You got your franchise guy. I mean, the reason why
you better be right, though.
No
you
one ridicules. The reason why no one really ridicules John Lynch for that now awful trade to go up and take Trey Lance, because they also took Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy ended up being the franchise quarterback.
Yeah, but
obviously they got lucky in that regard. They got lucky,
but he stepped in a big pile of you-know-what.
For sure, 100%. But that's a little different because they had the massive trade up to go pick Trey Lance.
See, the flip side to this that people don't understand is that when you pick one that high and the guy busts out, it is a very, very serious penalty for your franchise. And then if you want to keep throwing those darts like John says, and you keep missing, like the Browns did for over a decade, like the Jets did for a decade, you're in purgatory. So you got to always remember that.
I would say you could get in purgatory if you're unwilling to potentially, move on rather quickly from that quarterback. If the Giants take a quarterback at 3 this year, and that guy has just a awful rookie year and shows very little to no, flashes of this could be our future franchise guy, and going into next year's draft, the Giants are right back in the top 3, the top 5, and are in a position to select a quarterback.
Like the Cardinals a little
bit. Like the Cardinals a couple of years ago. Then you take the quarterback next year.
They did.
Because the Giants, who knows? The Giants could find themselves in that situation. They could take a quarterback at 3, and then, given the strength of schedule and just how this past 2 seasons went for the Giants, could struggle again in 2025. And the Giants could find themselves towards the top of the draft next year in a quarterback class that seems to have a lot more talent in next year's draft, at least a year out. Who knows what will happen in the next 14 months. But as of right now, most draft analysts believe the 2026 draft will be stronger and deeper at the quarterback position.
And you understand the flip side to that is then don't take the flyer until next year.
But again, I as of right now would say that I would prefer Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter.
Right.
But I would not fault anyone for trying to take a swing at a quarterback this year.
Oh, no. Again, if they believe in him, you got to take him.
100%.
And that's the overriding factor, folks. Please, let's make sure we both agree on that 100%. If the organization believes that they've got to get that guy and he's a QB, then they got to get him. That's it. Done.
Yeah, 100%. But just what I'm saying is, and you don't really see this too often in the NFL, the Cardinals being one of the few exceptions. When they drafted Josh Rosen in 2018, they had an awful year, and Josh Rosen looked awful. And they ended up with the number 1 pick in 2019, and they selected Kyler Murray, who was their franchise quarterback. Obviously, I hope the Giants are not in that position because I don't want to.
Kyler Murray's very good.
I don't want to have a top pick again next year. I would love for the Giants to be picking, in the 20s, or ideally the last pick of the first round next year. But if they do select a quarterback, and the quarterback doesn't show much or anything at all in the 2025 season, and the Giants land in the top 3 again in 2026 and have an opportunity to select, an Arch Manning or the guy out of Tennessee or whoever it might be, because who knows who the top quarterback prospects will end up being, then I want to take another shot at that position next year, because I will take as many swings as possible, because once you hit and land that home run franchise quarterback, it changes your franchise fortunes for the next decade plus.
See, the sticky part about this is this. Giants have a very difficult schedule in 2025.
Yes, the hardest strength of schedule.
If you take a rookie QB in April and you play him, odds are he's going to go through quite a beating, and he's probably not going to succeed a whole lot. That's what the odds are. History tells you that. Rookie quarterbacks have a very hard time when they start right out of the gate. There have been exceptions, but odds are not good, especially against the schedule that the Giants think they're going to play. I mean, teams can obviously change the quality of their roster over the course of the offseason, so we don't know for sure, but we believe it's going to be a brutal schedule. So here's the problem that you face. If you take a QB high and you play him, he gets the snot kicked out of him in year 1. and you have a horrible record, and there's a real chance that you may not have your staff back the following year. That's a real chance. Ownership has already said patience is thin. If you don't play him and you redshirt him, well, then how do you know if you should take a QB in 2026? Because you redshirted your rookie in 2025, and he never got a chance to show anything or develop. Now what do you do?
Yeah, no, look, that is a perfectly valid
I think about these things all the time. That's why I stay up till 4 a.m.
To the first situation you brought up, I will say that there is a team that is facing that exact situation this season. Granted, as we know, the quarterback crop in this year's draft is not considered to be too strong. However, take a look at the Patriots. They took Drake May last year.
Right.
The Patriots struggled. They won 4 games this year. They were one of the worst teams in the league.
I know people up there thrilled
Drake
with
May
him.
got sacked and beaten like no other once he got onto the field in week 8 or 9.
Yeah, but he showed a lot of good stuff. It wasn't a wasted year for him.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you can have a rookie quarterback go in, the team lose a lot of games, but still emerge from that season feeling confident about that rookie quarterback.
It's possible. It is
Patriots
possible.
Got rid of their coaching staff. They have a new coaching staff in now. So it's the exact situation that you brought up.
And that's not ideal.
It's not ideal, no, but you ask anyone in New England, they would say, we have our franchise quarterback.
They do love Drake May.
So
and rightfully so. I loved him too coming out of the draft.
Same. So I'm just saying it is possible to throw a rookie quarterback in, whether it's the full season, half the season, whatever. The guy kind of gets the snot beaten out of him. The team loses, but you still come out of the season feeling like you have your franchise quarterback.
It can happen. I'm not disputing the possibility. The odds are not likely, though. More often than not, that does not happen.
Fair. I'm saying it
could
happen.
It could. I don't dispute that. It could. You know, you could hit the lottery today, too. I mean, we don't know.
I don't know if the odds are quite the same there, but
probably not the same. But, you know, look, my inherent nature, and of course, being part of the whole NFL community, gambling not allowed anyway, but I'm not a gambler. My inherent nature is not to gamble. And I'm sure I'm going to have this conversation with John on Friday when he goes into this whole quarterback spiel again. My inherent job is not to gamble. And I know what people say, right? If you don't take the risk, you don't get the reward. I know that there are people like that who live by the seat of their pants who will always play the gamble. It doesn't matter what the odds are. They're going to take a shot at it because they want the reward and they feel that's the only way to get it. I understand that philosophy. I do. I don't tell those people that they're wrong. I simply tell those people, please be my guest. Go roll the dice. I'm not rolling them. I'm inherently not a gambler. I prefer to be more on the other side and go by percentages and logic that are in my favor as opposed to taking a shot at something that the odds say is not in my favor. That's all. It doesn't mean that anybody's right or wrong here. It's just a matter of, are you more of a gambler and a high roller than you're not? Hell, Ron Rivera got known to be a gambler. What do they call him? Riverboat gambler Ron Rivera, right?
Riverboat Ron?
Right. And that's what he was.
I hear what you're saying, but in general, you could say the whole draft in and of itself is sort of a crapshoot.
It is. That's why Bill Polian says if you get 3 out of every draft, you've done great as a GM.
Exactly. So my point is, if the player that you're taking in the first round is going to be a risk and a gamble no matter what, if you are lacking the players in the quarterback room, you don't have your franchise quarterback, why not take the chance on the most important position?
Because if the position's that important to you, you don't want to roll the dice.
It's the most important to everyone.
Correct. And agreeing to that, you want to take somebody who's going to give you better odds.
But
therefore, you sign somebody, you trade for somebody, or you sign somebody who you feel better about, who's going to give you a much better chance of winning games. Therefore, the bridge. You're actually on board with the bridge, so I don't know why we're even discussing this.
Because I'm just saying, I have
The bridge is the way to go.
Obviously, the Giants are going to sign a bridge quarterback no matter what.
Absolutely,
No matter what, because free agency is in a month. The draft is 2.5 months away. There will be a veteran quarterback in some capacity on the Giants roster before the draft.
Yeah.
And I still remain steadfast that whoever that is, that should be the week 1 starter and start, at least half the season, depending on what the Giants do in the draft. But that guy, whoever they signed, chances are that is not going to be the next franchise quarterback for the next decade.
No.
And so I'm just saying,
I agree with
don't
that too.
fault the people that want to take quarterback at 3 to try to find that franchise guy that will be here for the next decade.
You just said 5 minutes ago that there's a better crop of quarterbacks in next year's draft.
You're right. And I literally just said that even if the Giants take a quarterback at 3, if the situation I said where the Giants struggle in 2025 and have another top 3 pick next year, and that quarterback does not show anything that gives you confidence,
so you'll throw darts,
take a quarterback again next year.
And pass up on Travis Hunter this year.
Potentially, yeah. I just think
that's a lot of price to pay.
You're right. It is. But if you do it and in one of these 2 drafts, the quarterback hits, and you have your guy,
you just said
then it doesn't matter.
You're a gambler by nature. I'm not.
When it comes to that position, the most important position, and a position that the Giants have not had any stability at since Eli Manning retired, I'm willing to gamble on that position. Because finding the franchise guy, whether it's in this draft, next year's draft, whatever it is, finding that guy is the top priority. The Giants are not going to be a perennial playoff contender until they have an established, settled quarterback room. Or at least the guy at the top of the depth chart. It's realistically, it's not going to happen. They're not going to make the playoffs every year until they have that guy, their franchise guy. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a rookie. There's a chance that whether it's the Giants or another team could sign someone like Justin Fields, give him a new chance. And Justin Fields, it would not surprise me if he grows into and develops into a starting quarterback in the NFL for the next 5 to 10 years. That would not surprise me at all. So there are different avenues you can take to get that franchise guy. But finding that guy has got to be, it is obviously priority number 1. Everyone in this building has made that abundantly clear.
No doubt. It's just a matter of how you go about finding the guy. And there's more than one way to skin a cat.
For sure.
That's all.
100%.
I don't know why this always has to turn into a debate, because there's no debate. There's no right and there's no wrong. Everybody knows they've got to get a quarterback who's going to be quarterback in this team down the road, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road. Everybody knows that. Nobody disagrees. Nobody. I don't know why it always has to be so heated. I don't understand that.
Well, I don't think
Anyway.
it's not heated.
It just seems to me that there's this constant wanting to make a right and wrong about it, and there really isn't a right and a wrong.
No, I don't think there's a right and wrong. There are different philosophies that
Correct.
people can have.
Okay.
I
All right, good. So
kind
we're
of
good.
agree. I am just of the philosophy that even if it takes multiple swings, it's worth it if you finally hit that home run. Whether it's a first-round pick this year and a first-round pick next year, a day 2 pick this year and a first-round pick next year, whatever it is, take as many swings as possible till you land your guy.
201-939-4513. We got just a couple minutes left if somebody wants to get in on the line. As a reminder, Pearson, the Giants huddle is up there now. What do we have up on the program this week?
The latest is draft season is up there, but
Tony Pauline, right?
We'll have Jordan Reed from ESPN later on today as well.
Okay, so a couple of draft gurus coming up on today's edition of the Huddle. So we invite you to click on that through all of your favorite podcast platforms, as well as giants.com/podcasts. I know that, let me see, Thursday, honors, Pro Bowl games are over, Super Bowl is on Sunday. I don't think there's any other NFL calendar item coming up in the next week, is there?
No,
that's it.
Super Bowl, and after that, nothing really until the Combine.
Yeah, exactly. Combine starting. Actually, guys start to get into Indianapolis on the 24th. And that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, I think other than that, it's not really an event, but the next part of the off season, even before free agency, is the window for teams to put the franchise tag on players,
right?
Which some players will get tagged, and that will obviously reduce the number of top level free agents in free agency come 6 weeks from 5 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now. I don't expect the Giants to put the tag on anyone this year.
I don't either.
I don't think there's anyone.
You know,
the Giants the top free agents for the Giants, Darius Slayton, who's very solid.
And Pinnock.
Pinnock, again, solid, but the amount of money that the franchise tag would give them at their respective positions is probably more than what they will end up signing for.
The tag begins February 18th. The tagging period ends March 4th.
Yeah. So a 2-ish week period that we'll see some of the free agents, someone like T. Higgins. I don't expect him to hit the open market in free agency.
Yeah, they'll probably trade him, though.
I think a tag and trade, and then the new team give him an extension could definitely be in the cards.
Interestingly enough, so Matt Miller had them drafting the Georgia safety in round 2. So he's obviously anticipating Pinnock doesn't come back.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Right, because Belton's also here.
Yeah.
They've got a guy who can play, and Newbin's a starter.
Yeah.
And Belton's been kind of a part-time starter a little bit. So he's thinking that Pinnock doesn't come back, and that's why they drafted Georgia
To be
safety.
honest, though, I feel like just given that Matt Miller is a national reporter and not like a Giants beat reporter, he probably just looks at what, the pending free agents for each team and doesn't really give too much thought about, whether maybe the Giants will actually re-sign Jason Pinnock. I would think that doesn't come into play. He just sees, their starting safety is going to be a free agent. They need another safety. Let's just, go with that. I don't think he's going through each team and being like, what are the chances that Team X will, re-sign player Y before he hits free agency?
Yeah, and even looking at the depth chart, I'm refreshing my memory, and the guys deep on the depth chart behind Belton, I don't see a safety there that
you have Newbin and Belton are really the two.
That's it.
Kind of only the two,
That's
reliable
it.
safeties on the roster right now.
So we'll find out, because free agency comes before the draft. We'll find out what their plans are for Pinnock.
Yeah.
And I would hope that he re-signs, to be honest. I'd like to see him here.
I like him a lot. Very solid player.
But I suppose that does change things some if he leaves. It does change things some, especially since the Giants are not afraid to use a 3-safety package. That is part of Bowen's repertoire.
Yeah, look.
And if you have Belton and Newbin, who's your third safety? You do need somebody in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, if Pinnock does not come back, then safety becomes a pretty big need for the Giants, especially obviously on the defensive side of the ball. Is kind of goes right up there with defensive tackle and outside corner.
Yeah. And, remember, the rule of thumb is always you never want to go into the draft desperate, right? The draft is supposed to kind of fill in some of the weak spots, but you don't want to go in with a gaping hole at one spot. You could make a case that if Pinnock walks out the door, that kind of does become a bit of a gaping hole.
I would think that if Pinnock signs elsewhere towards the start of free agency, that by the time the draft comes, some sort of veteran would be added to the room.
Have you looked at the list?
Every year we see a lot of veteran safeties, signed for, frankly, not much more than the minimum, the vet minimum. I could see the Giants, regardless of what their plans might be for the draft, I could see them adding a safety at that, that sort of level prior to the draft. I saw PFF in one of their articles, saying which top free agents are good fits for some teams. They had the guy from the 49ers, Hufanga.
Telefano?
Yeah. I'm horrible at pronouncing names, but the 49ers safety they had, who has been a little injured.
Hufanga.
Hufanga, yeah. They have hit the Giants signing Hufanga.
Yeah. Hufanga. Let's go Hufanga. Okay.
So that would be an interesting fit if Pinnock were to leave.
Yeah.
He just thinks he has an issue staying healthy, which...
Yeah.
A lot of... the Giants have had that issue in general.
I was just going to say...
the last couple of years.
Oh, man.
But when healthy, he is a great player.
Well, it's the same stuff that I get from people who come after me about Jimmy G. Nobody comes after me about Jimmy G because he stinks. They all come after me. It's, how can you sign Jimmy G? He's had too many injuries. Nobody comes after him because he stinks. He doesn't stink.
No,
God knows he's won a ton of games and quarterbacked the team to the Super Bowl.
He definitely does not stink. The injury part wouldn't be my concern with signing Jimmy G. I would just aim a little bit higher in terms of the bridge quarterback, as we've discussed many times.
Yeah. All right.
Did you see Jameis Winston last night?
Yeah, well.
He certainly seems interested in joining the Giants.
God bless him. You know, John and I talked about it yesterday without being any disrespectful to anybody. Over a very lengthy career, his interception percentage and ratio to touchdown throws is extremely concerning. And that it's just that simple.
Yeah, no, he is.
That's all.
Far from
and I'm
perfect
sure
quarterback.
if we had him sitting right here today, he would admit that that's a fact. His touchdown interception ratio for years and years and years, not just once or twice, but for years has been a problem.
He made a joke at the Super Bowl press row last night about his own interceptions. He was throwing these W cookies to the players at the podiums, and he was trying to throw one to Kelsey, and it didn't make it to Kelsey.
Right.
And Jameis himself made some comment like, "Oh, I'm always just getting intercepted."
Did he really?
He did. He said it himself. He knows what he is at this point.
None of
his
his head coaches were laughing. I'll tell you that. Not anybody who was trying to coach him up on the sideline for all the years that he's played in this league. Those interceptions didn't make any of those coaches laugh. I guarantee you.
He would certainly add some character to this building. I'll say that.
That is true.
Some energy.
That is true. All right. That'll do it for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live. We appreciate your time today, folks. As always, catch us on the archive at your favorite podcast platforms or at giants.com/podcasts. We will be back again tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, for another 1-hour show. Write down the number 201-939-4513. For Matt Citak, I'm Paul Dottino. We will see you next time. This has been Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. So long, everybody.